nature is a force more powerful than evil. Its desire is to consume all life on Earth. Only you can redeem us. He is coming.
There is a devil in this world, and I have met him.
But you could never please me as he could. I'm ready.
Aloha. This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man. And, it's been a long day. Merry Christmas, by the way. Here in Hawaii, it is almost midnight, so it's still Christmas Eve. And I have watched on December 24th the opening weekend, holiday weekend of the movie Nosferatu. What can I say about this movie is that, well, remember our rating scale? Shock a thumbs up, it's good to see, I recommend it. Shock a thumbs down, it's junk, I don't recommend it. And for Nosferatu, it is overall a shock a thumbs up. This stars an all-star cast. Who is that? Amy, is it Amy or Ellie Lee Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter, in her biggest role, I'd say, since Yoga Hosers. Shout out there to Kevin Smith for discovering her. But yes, this is probably her best role to date. Taking on, well, I'll get into this in a moment. So it's got her, it's got William Dafoe, it's got Eric Holt, Beast from the latest Fox X-Men shows. I think it's even got the Craven guy. I'm not sure. I think so. Whatever his name is. I'm sorry, I can't remember. And it's got one of the Skarsgård brothers. I think it's who is that? Ben Skarsgård, who's always playing the monsters and stuff. Played the creature in It as well, I believe. It's late. I may not be exact on that. But it is one of the Skarsgårds. And he does as creepy as, if it is the guy from who did It, he does as creepy a job as that, playing the vampire Nosferatu in this. It is a good movie overall. It is, it is pretty creepy. This is a darker turn than what we had seen Francis Ford Coppola's 90s version of Bram Stoker's Dracula. But let me say this with all honesty. I feel that Bram Stoker's Dracula, the movie directed by Francis Ford Coppola, where basically Anthony Hopkins played in this version the William Dafoe character. Amy Lee Depp plays essentially the Winona Ryder character. Eric Holtz plays the Keanu Reves character. And to be honest, the only person who stands out better than any of the actors before in the previous Dracula movie by Francis Ford Coppola is Eric Holtz, because the only person who was panned is that same character who was played originally by Keanu Reves. No offense to the greatness of Keanu Reves, but if there's one bad movie role that he's ever done that maybe he shouldn't have done was the Bram Stoker Dracula movie, who in this version is played by Eric Holtz, who is, at least for dramatic acting, like in this part, was far above and away better than Keanu Reeves was in the original role. But other than that, this movie is an exact beat for beat version, a little darker, a little bit more gnarly, I guess, than the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula movie, but essentially it is the same movie. I would even go as far as to say that the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula movie is a more superb movie in the fact that it is a large Hollywood movie. Thus, it has a larger budget. It is more action-packed. There is the fight scene, the resolution to Dracula at the end is much more cinematic than what takes place in this movie. This is pretty much by a smaller film studio, more of an artsy movie. The cast is smaller, centering only on basically those three individuals. You have the Van Helsing character, this time played by William Dafoe. The Winona Ryder character played by Amy Lou Depp character, who does a good job. More is brought into her character than the Winona Ryder character. So perhaps her performance is a little bit more nuanced. But still, I think Winona Ryder did it a little bit better. Still. And of course, Eric Holtz, pound for pound, in this same kind of role, was far superior than, Keanu Reeves was at that time. But he's also not trying to do some weird accent, European accent, that Keanu Reeves was trying to do so poorly in that original Bram Stoker Dracula movie. Nosferatu is again a shock a thumbs up. It is much darker of a movie than that original movie. Yet, Skarsgård also doesn't have the charisma that Gary Oldman gave in his role as Dracula, as the Nosferatu character. That Skarsgård does in this role. He's much more grittier, much more gruff. He can play the terror part of it, but he doesn't have the charisma. You don't long for him, as you did maybe, or maybe to be him. He doesn't charm his way into this woman's life. He kind of asunders her from the get-go. And that's basically what Skarsgård does. That Gary Oldman did kind of charm his way into Winona Ryder, her life. to be her betrothed, basically, which is the same role that he's trying to fulfill in this movie as Nosferatu, Bill Skarsgård's character. But I'm not saying that it's bad, it's just different, a little less powerful, I thought, overall in scope. You could definitely see more of a, again, Dracula. Nosferatu is a much dirtier, grittier movie, coming more directly from the legends than, say, the adaptation that Bram Stoker had done for his version of Dracula. Dracula from the Bram Stoker novel, brought forth the Vlad the Impaler legend that this movie doesn't touch upon. So there is a finesse of that character, a regalness of that character, of Dracula, a refined beast, per se, is his guise of Dracula, or at least a version of him. That Nosferatu just has the ferocity that you're not seeing, that you had seen before. So it is a different movie, but unfortunately I say it's very much the same movie, beat for beat. Certain plot points are the same, although the conclusions and the cinematic scope of it, because of a smaller studio, an artistic license, adaptation of this legend of the Nosferatu, vice Bram Stoker's Dracula, is, a little less impactful, I thought. But still a good movie overall, especially if you like vampire movies, if you like Nosferatu. Lilly Depp as the Winona Ryder character, basically, does a very good job. I felt her portrayal was very different than what we had seen from Winona Ryder's character, leaning a little bit more into, I want to say, if you've seen the Showtime original series Penny Dreadful, if you go back to the graphic novels of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the woman that she portrays, that Winona Ryder and Emmy Lee Depp plays in this movie, is a direct reflection upon that character. A more confident, becomes a more confident woman, having faced, staring into the abyss, looking at these demons. As she had said, as was written in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen's, one of the graphic novels, when Mr. Hyde is confronting her, quite literally capable of tearing her limb from limb, he does not, simply because he knows she is not afraid of him, because he knows that she has seen things far worse than him. Dracula, for one thing, to name but a few. And that is the gravitas that, Emma Lee Depp brings to this role, that I don't think was reflected by Winona Ryder. Maybe it was the artistic choice, artistic license from Francis Ford Coppola, keeping her a minor character with all the other bigger stars at that time. but still, you know, so that gives her a little bit more to play with, a little bit more meat in the Nosferatu version for her to kind of turn the tables and have more female empowerment in this movie, whereas basically it was the guys rescuing her at the end in the Bram Stoker, Francis Ford Coppola Dracula movie of the 90s. Whereas in this version, basically she saves the day. She saves the guys, her love, Eric Schultz, or Holtz in this case, the former Keanu Reves played character, and along with everyone else, and is able to take out the Nosferatu vampire through the guise and the abilities that she has from birth, basically, and her self-sacrifice, very much like how the Showtime series Penny Dreadful ended, played by who was that, Anna Green, or Eva Green, who had played basically that same role, very much so in light of this performance. I would be surprised if maybe Lilly Depp hadn't maybe seen some of Eva Green's work in that series and kind of was inspired a little bit by that performance, I'd have to say, because that's what it felt like to me. There was more of that meat and gravitas to her role, especially at the end. Very similar to that Showtime show, Penny Dreadful. An excellent show if you haven't seen it. Season 2 is a little shaky. Season 1 is fantastic. Season 3 is spot on. And honestly, Showtime should have continued it for season 4. But, you know, it ended in a decent place. Shock a thumbs up for Penny Dreadful. Long time series, a few years back. Check it out. It's streaming somewhere. I'm sure you can maybe find it on Netflix even. But as for Nosferatu, overall a shock a thumbs up. It is a decent enough vampire movie. If you liked the Bram Stoker Dracula movie by Francis Ford Coppola of the 90s, you'll enjoy this one enough, especially if you're looking for a little bit more dread into it, a little bit more unrefined terror, I guess, would be the way I would describe it. The other one was a much more Hollywood, bigger, action-y production. This one is on a smaller, more gritty scale, which, you know, some people may prefer to the glammed Hollywood version of the 90s. But still, both movies, shock a thumbs up, and this one as well. I don't know if it's going to break, you know, it's one of the major movies out this weekend for the holiday. I don't know if it's still going to be able to beat Wicked or Moana 2. I know they've been out for a while, but being a little bit of a smaller film with a smaller studio behind it and a rated R scary kind of like movie, I think it'll be at number 2 at the box office, and I think Moana will still hold it. Actually, maybe Sonic, it might be number 3 actually, because Sonic might be number 1, Moana 2 will likely be number 2, and Nosferatu will probably be number 3 at the box office overall, just because, again, it's adult, rated R, darker themes. The other 2 playing to children, more family fare, will of course be able to be seen by more people. So there you have it. All right, mahalo and aloha and Merry Christmas.